this polling that's been conducted, and it's conducted quite regularly. It's been conducted throughout the last few decades at least, talking about the pride in the country and whether or not pride in Britain is on the up or on the down. And it's never been as down as it is now. And it's not been obvious, actually, that there is a downward trajectory, but there very much is. And over the last decade, it's plummeted. And a report has actually found that fewer people now think somebody born in the UK is truly British as well. So there are a whole host of things. And the reason I say this is relevant is actually because I wonder if, it will be primarily the young generation that don't feel pride in their country. And that's an issue. So what I was really struck by, and that's the polling there. So you can see the drop, by the way, folks, right? At 1995, 83%, 2003, 82% pride, 2013, up to 86% pride. And then in 2023, a drop all the way to 64% pride in Britain's history. So Rafe Heidelman-Q, a historian and a royalist, he had this to say on it, and I thought it summed it up really quite nice before I get your thoughts on it.
That's been taking place for decades. And this is a very interesting report. We need to understand what's going on. This is a very respected survey that's been taking place for decades. And what's remarkable is that pride in British history has been stable for decades until this past decade. So in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, it was over 80%. It's now dropped dramatically by 22% to 64%. And why is that? Well, it's no coincidence that it's been in the last decade that we have seen the supremacy of woke ideology through all of our institutions, particularly our schools, our universities, the media, and our cultural institutions like museums and so forth. And so essentially we've seen ideological subversion happening. And this is not the only survey to show that, actually. We have the most radically left-wing youth in history. They hold views that are totally out of kilter with those who are even 10 or 15 years older. We've seen a war on our history. We've seen our achievements undermined. We've seen our great heroes, from Churchill to Nelson to David Hume, unfairly besmirched. And we've seen at the same time, of course, another fundamental issue. Essentially, there's a pincer movement on British history and culture and identity. One is ideological subversion from woke ideology. The other one, of course, is mass immigration, the importation of millions of people into this country who understandably don't have any cultural affinity, don't have any historical knowledge of this country, but all they see around them, all the messaging they're getting from the media, from the institutions, is one of unrelenting negativity about Britain's past.
And that's a really good point that Rafe makes, Alex, because I saw a video, there's a video going around of two migrants speaking to an English fella in what looks like a factory warehouse. And he says, that England's not a racist country. And he's told by these two people that it is a racist country. And my view on that was, well, why don't you sort the hell off then? But this is the narrative that young people are hearing from people like that. And Rafe is right, mass migration on an unprecedented scale that we've never ever seen before. And as Jill has just pointed out on YouTube, we can't even fly our own flag. How can we possibly be proud? Let's not forget, at the protest, someone was arrested for flying this flag of St. George outside a mosque. I mean, is that a crime?
Yeah, it's shocking stuff, isn't it? And I don't think anyone would really be that surprised to see that number today, that 63%. I think people have felt that the British identity has been under attack for the last decade. Well, I can certainly feel like it has been for the last decade at least, been under a massive amount of attack by the left. The woke ideology has gone absolutely wild, but it's infiltrated institutions right to the highest level. We look at things from the National Trust coming out, basically saying that whiteness is bad, that British history is bad.
Yeah, the countryside is bad as well.
Countryside is bad, going on hikes is racist, all this nonsense. And of course, you're going to start getting a generation of young people who start to feel like sticking up for British culture is something they shouldn't do. It's just how subversion works, it's how manipulation works. The second part I'd say that Rafe nailed is the mass importing of illegal immigrants and legal immigrants from countries that do not like what our country stands for. This is a fact. There's many of them that come here for the opportunities, but hate our culture. They hate Britain very, very deeply. They think our country is racist because their governments have told them that, and the people around them have told them that, and them in their certain cultural spheres have been told that. They bring that here. They penetrate the workforce. They have children. They teach their children that. That is how this works. So I will not be surprised in 2030, the next decade, you see that number hitting below the 50% mark for the
Good
very
God.
first time.
Yeah.
Very sad
Yeah.
truth, unless we start fighting back.
Chloe, before I go to Eunice, Stephen says, who is a friend of the show, thank you for joining us again, Stephen. If my teenage kids and their peers are anything to go by, this might, thankfully, be changing. Are you as optimistic as Stephen is?
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, Stephen's probably brought up his kids well. I feel like the young generation is definitely going the wrong way, especially with what's going on at universities, as we've just discussed with James, where they're being indoctrinated. So I think there are a couple of things going on here that's resulting in this decline in pride in this country. And on the one hand, it is these people who feel like Britain's got a racist past. This is what they're told at universities. This is what they're told by everyone on the left. They make it out as if Britain is the only country in the world that ever had slaves. Spoiler alert, pretty much every country had slaves, and we were the ones who actually decided to bring that to an end. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, I think, people look at this country now and they see it going in a downward trajectory, right? It used to be the case that this country was, say, a bastion of free speech, and we could say, yeah, we're really proud that our grandfathers in World War II, they gave us these amazing freedoms that we have today, and they gave us this economically prosperous country that we have today that's more prosperous than the other countries around the world. But then, you know, free speech is going down the drain. People are being locked up in prison, as you say, for flying a St. George's flag. Our economy seems to be going to shit. You can't get a hospital appointment, you can't get a school place for your child. Nothing seems to work in this country. We've got a cost of living crisis. Meanwhile, people in places like Dubai with no democracy seem to be doing a heck of a lot better than us and have safer streets than ours. So you can kind of see why pride in Britain is declining.
But Eunice, how do we turn this around? Alex, go on, Alex.
Before I hand it over to Eunice, but I thought Chloe hit on something really important there. Even on the right, pride is declining in our country. And I think that we should also bear that in mind. We are also less proud of Britain. I'm less proud of Britain today, not of our whole history, but of our recent history, for certainly sure.
Yep.
Sorry, Eunice, over to you.
Yeah, so I feel like the woke mind virus really started infiltrating our universities and our schools around 2014. And the chart shows ever since 2013, it's gone on a rapid, decrease. And I always say to people, like, London is not the same as it used to be. Like, I remember going out, like, back in 2015, and it was just so lively. So many people were out. It was just fun, And now sometimes you go out like to central London and Mayfair and Chelsea, it's like a ghost town on a Saturday night. And I'm like, where is all the people? And probably all the people have left. This is what I mean. Like, everyone's left to go to Dubai or to America. London and UK is not where it used to be. And maybe there's several different reasons for that. I don't know, maybe COVID, maybe after Brexit, or maybe the fact that all the rich people have left because crime is so high now, maybe the woke mind virus. All of these things are playing into the hands of why the pride in this country is going down. But at the end of the day, I feel like the whole thing is a lie. Because yes, has Britain done bad things in the past? Yes, it has. But has it done also great things? Yes, it has. And the reason why the United Kingdom was a superpower 150 years ago is because they kick-started world trade. And yeah, did they have slaves? Yes, they did. But did they end slavery? Yes, they did also. So you cannot look at the dark part of history only. You have to look at the positives that also United Kingdom done. And every single civilization and every single empire done some good things and they done some bad things. But then the problem with the woke mind virus is that it only focuses on the bad things. And I just don't think that's okay. They don't talk about the fact that, in Africa, there's more slaves today than there was at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. They don't talk about the fact that there was Africans selling their own people into slavery, the kings and the queens of Africa, selling their own people to slavery to countries like Britain and America, right? And I always said this, look, if you care so much about slavery, don't protest it here in this country. We don't have a racism problem here. Go and save the slaves in South Sudan and in Somalia, because there's millions of them, yeah? So, as I said, I think the pride in the West has gone down. So I don't think it's just the United Kingdom. I even think the same thing is happening in America, and Western Europe. And the only way we can combat this is to, first of all, strengthen our economy. As I said, the West is collapsing. The war on the West, and every single empire collapses with time. The Roman Empire, and I truly believe the West is on a decline. And I don't think that's a joke. Unless we have strong leadership, we can revive our economy. Otherwise, countries like China, like Dubai, even Saudi Arabia, they will take over in the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Some of the comments there, Deborah says, if enough people stand up, things will change. We need a large, peaceful protest to show we cannot be silenced by Starmer. And that's what James was hinting earlier on actual action. And Lee says, I have no children, but I feel sorry for those who have. If we don't fight now, they will have a bigger fight later. And lots of people encouraging us to keep saying it as it is, because enough people aren't. And Paul said on Facebook earlier, I've just lost the comment, that the fact that we are all scared to say what we think is a sign of decline in and of itself, which is true. But, this country, as Eunice said, lifted a whole host of people, millions and millions, that I wouldn't be able to measure it, out of the most abject poverty through, as he mentioned, the international trade, through setting up international trade, abolishing the slave trade. We did that at vast expense to the taxpayers of this country. We are a great country with a great history. My grandfather, a working class lad who was down the pits, went off to fight in South Korea in the Korean War to actually stand up for the values that the United Kingdom's flag represents. Freedom from tyranny, freedom from oppression, freedom to, dare I say, speak your mind against tyrants like those in the north of Korea. And I feel immense pride when I think of my grandfather going out and doing that. And he had immense pride in doing that under the banner of the United Kingdom. And I find it immensely sad and deeply troubling that there are so many who actually think he needn't have bothered. The United Kingdom should just pack up and go home. That we might as well just become, I don't know, a citadel of Black Lives Matter and wave their flag and just say, we're Antifa as a nation. And I'm not going to accept that. They're going to have to put me in a gulag. They're going to have to put a bullet through my skull because I ain't going to accept that. Eunice has just disappeared. Oh dear. He's vehemently disagreed with what I had to say. That's what it is. Right. So then the other issue, Eunice is back. He didn't disagree with what I had to say.
Can I say something quickly to your point, by the way, Darren? They said the Roman Empire fell not because of outside aggression. It fell because of the enemy from within. And the woke mind virus and the rise of Islamism is the enemy from within. And I think great civilizations and great empires fall when the people from within it start, going against the narrative. And it's basically the woke mind virus. The woke mind virus is the enemy from within. So we have to defeat it, because I don't think every country falls not because of external aggression. I truly believe that it's only from within that countries fall. And what's happening right now is that we have a lot of enemy from within, and that could be to some extent through mass immigration from countries that hate us. And they obviously come to this country, they don't like our values, and they try to take us down. But also we have the stereotypical white liberals that think they know so well, and everything's so exotic, and they are not brave enough to stand up. And that is a combination of the woke mind virus and weakness and the rise of extreme ideologies that take a society down. And I think we should battle that.
A quick history lesson. We'd have someone in the comments here who's using Hebrew. I think the name is Shay the Great in Hebrew, and he said the Crusaders. He was criticizing Britain just because we're talking about history. And I think this is a beautiful time to talk about this, saying the Crusaders killed all the Jews of Jerusalem, all of them. Well, just an interesting part. Anyone who reads about what the Jews in Jerusalem actually fought with the Muslims on that side of the battle in that period of time, hence why during the Crusades, many Jews were killed because they actually sided with the Muslim majority in Jerusalem at the time. So I thought I'd just give you a quick history lesson there as to why that happened. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it's undoubtedly true that the West is collapsing, but we just have to do something about it and get off our asses, really. That's
But
the
with
that's the
the
lesson.
West collapsing, the silent majority in this country needs to stop being
Yeah.
silent, and they need to be clever about
Exactly.
how they talk about it, because the government will weaponize the law against them. But if you start talking about immigration more openly, and provided you say anything racist, which you shouldn't say, or incite violence against people, this conversation will get better, and we will change things, because politicians only act when they hear it's an important thing to people. Hopefully, we'll see someone like Robert Jenrick in the Conservative Party be put forward, and you'll see the likes of Nigel Farage in Reform, and this will become a top agenda item for the right, at least for the foreseeable future. I really do hope that we can still turn the tide.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk, and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.